Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another Hypeimmune Reviews, where hype comes to die. I'm School Writer, and today we're going to talk about Hudson Hawk. Hudson Hawk, one of Bruce Willis' most infamous bombs. I used to love this movie when I was a kid, and after reviewing the Cutthroat Island, I wondered why not check this movie again, since reviewing old movies to remove nostalgia glasses is a good exercise for reviewers. So, was this movie as bad as everyone says it is? After watching it again, I have to say that not really. So, is it a hidden gem that was unfairly maligned and unjustly cast into oblivion? Also, no. Why? Stick around and let's see. Hudson Hawk is an action comedy heist movie directed by Michael Lehmann, supposedly, since there are reports of Bruce Willis effectively hijacking the director's seat. And it's notorious and infamous for being a passion project for Willis, who planned to make it into a series of movies. The problem seems to be that, being Willis, he meddled with directing, producing, and writing, acting like a diva on set. You know, normal Bruce Willis behavior, except that he also had frequent creative clashes with producer Joe Silva. This made the budget skyrocket, and shootings take longer than necessary. And not helping matters, the marketing team tried to promote this movie as a straight-up action piece, instead of the zany comedy that poked fun at several genres. The final nail in the coffin was that Hudson Hawk competed against Backdraft of all movies at launch, and Backdraft is really good. I recommend watching it. This is the story of Eddie Hawkins, nicknamed Hudson Hawk, played by Bruce Willis, one of the best cat burglars in the entire world. The movie begins in his first day of freedom, after spending years in jail due to being caught. He just wants to turn a new leaf, find some honest work, and drink a good cup of cappuccino. But sadly for him, the Mayflowers, a couple of nouveau riche, need him to help them fulfill a dastardly plot to conquer the world through a machine made by the famous Leonardo da Vinci. Now, Eddie needs to navigate a complicated and bizarre web of intrigue involving the Mayflowers, played by Richard A. Grant and Sandra Bernard, the agent of the Vatican Anna Baragli, played by Andy McDowell, a Black Ops CIA squad led by George Kaplan, played by James Coburn, and his own partner Tommy Five-Tone Messina, played by Danny Aiello. Due to the muddled production and rumors abound, I can't point out a specific director. It's rumored that Willis basically kept hijacking directing and may or may not have hired other directors, etc. But I can say that the directing is a bit turbulent but overall solid, and the visuals are actually good. Nothing outstanding, but good. If you pay attention, you can see whenever the meddling messes with the flick itself. Overall, there are some good bits of characters talking, moving shots where people talk inside cars, proper pans to show where characters are talking, different angles to heighten specific features. For example, there is a shot from the ground so you can see how tall and gorgeous are the buildings in Rome. It's kind of a directing that is a lost art nowadays. But at the same time, things can get frantic, muddled with weird cuts alongside way too many close-ups on Eddie's face because again it's Bruce Willis. Visually, the movie sports quite a nice range of scenarios. We have New York with its gentrified bars, museums, clubs and shoddy locales before switching to Italy, both in its cities and the countryside. And the movie knows how to flaunt it. You see long shots to show what I assume to be the Hudson River, broader shots to show buildings and highlight the difference in architecture between Italy and America, and of course the famous shots with a landmark on the background. One of the things I liked about most of this movie is that the settings and scenarios are really well done. There is a lot of show don't tell through imagery alone. For example, how the Mayflowers are absolutely narcissistic to the point of erecting murals about themselves and the dog. Or how Da Vinci's workshop was restored, since you can see the new wood scaffolds with new metal bindings contrasting with the aged rusted metal from yore. There is a lot of care in the costumes as well, balancing how quirky the characters are without going too far. And lots of good practical effects, such as the hidden blades of Alfred, the Mayflower's main henchman, who is a battle butler. He uses oversized switchblades the size of short swords that pop from within his sleeves, and there are scenes carefully constructed to make you see how the mechanism works. So I'd say that the movie is visually good. It has bumps and problems, but overall good and solid, especially for the 90s. The acting is basically the herald to the problems of this movie. Overall, it's good. Most of the cast knows that they are in an affectionate parody and act as such, not going overly serious but not being overly ridiculous either. Richard Grant and Sandra Bernard absolutely chew the scenario as if it was made of toffee, and depending on personal tastes, they will either be one of the highlights of the movie or one of its downer points. I like it though, and fun fact, both actors ended up being pretty good friends in real life. James Coburn looks like he's having the time of his life playing a CIA agent so casually bloodthirsty it goes to downright hilarious, and Danny Aiello simply plays a mobster persona through and through, which offers a good clash against the absurdity that happens around them. And then we reach Willis. I won't lie, he can actually play a really good straight man to the absurdity going on, showing that he still had comedic chops by then. And I really love that his straight man style is akin to the 5 stages of grief. He first denies the absurdity, then gets angry, tries to haggle with the absurdity, and finally just accepts everything rolling with the punches. But unfortunately, he starts to mush this with his tough action character persona that would congeal into his half-cocked smile, slow talk to the camera boring style. Yes, he was Vin Diesel before Vin Diesel even made commercial about street sharks, and yes, that's a thing that happened. Anyway, this comedic style and his half-cocked style mix as well as water and oil. One moment he is expressive and frustrated, and then flips a switch and gets cool and composed. Andie MacDowell's acting also feels as if she tried to fit in with the blend of absurdity and only half succeeded, feeling a bit forced and disjointed, but at least she tried. The action scenes are actually quite good. The scene of Eddie going through a highway while on the medical stretcher is frequently shown in the trailers for a reason, with nice camera and stunt work. Fights are also good, with just enough time in the shots from a position just good enough to make you not notice the stuntman, unless you are really paying attention. It's not old kung fu movies, but it's no quick cuts every breath either. Sadly, and this will be more developed in writer, the last leg of the movie gets shoddier due to the troubled production, and everything suffers as a result, including the acting and shots. You can see the frustration piling on the actors and everyone just wants to be done with this and get home. Well, after going through this movie once more, this time removing the nostalgia glasses, I can say that what doomed Hudson Hawk was that it really uneven in tone. It tries at the same time to be a tongue-in-cheek comedy, a high story and an action movie. A skilled writer could pull off 2, even the whole trio, but the problem here was less the skill of the writers and more the constant tug-of-war between Willis and Silva. Said unevenness basically infected nearly everything else, especially the pacing. We start the movie with Eddie get out of prison and immediately being harassed by his parole officer into doing another job. And it's a really good scene. Easy, flows smoothly and shows efficiently that Eddie wants nothing to do with the world of crime, but he's still a really good thief. The casual comedic tone is heightened as he is picked up by his pal Tommy, and the recurring joke of Eddie never being able to drink a cappuccino is established. We have more scenes where he interacts with the bad guys, and out of nowhere we have a serious scene where he has a realistic fit about the course of his life, breaking stuff in the process in a flip of a tongue so fast I nearly had whiplash. And just as fast as it appeared, the scene is gone, replaced by a whimsical but admittedly really good scene that shows how Eddie is such an unconventional thief but superb nonetheless. He synchronizes with his partner through singing a song that is also used as the soundtrack of the scene, and he mixes both conventional thief tools with mundane objects like a skateboard. And then the scene ends in a high jump moment that switches to a completely different scene for some reason at another neck-breaking pace. And this is the overall problem. The first half of the movie struggles between being a serious heist movie and a tongue-in-cheek affectionate parody of super spy stories. The middle more or less stabilizes the tone, only for the ending to flip again, this time in a tug-of-war between being just a tongue-in-cheek and completely partial to the point of having literal cartoon sound effects. I'm not joking.
It didn't.
There are too many quirky henchmen and side characters that they end up underdeveloped and quickly dispatched as well. Which is sincerely a shame because whenever the tone stabilizes, it works wonderfully. We have a really good banter with Bond one-liners and hilarious threats. For example,
I'll torture you so slowly you'll think it's a career.
A surprisingly solid characterization and an actually cohesive web of betrayals and allegiance between hammy James Bond supervillains, a squad of quirky CIA killers with codenames of candy bars, and the Pope's intelligence and espionage group. And in the middle of this maelstrom of insanity lies Eddie, a guy who just wants a cappuccino. Yes, characterization's weird, but solid here. The Mayflowers know they are villains and flaunt it, the CIA squad knows their names are ridiculous and they absolutely love what they do, and Tommy couldn't care less about the insanity going on. He just acts like the usual mobster. All while Eddie just wants to escape everything and perhaps hook up with Anna, who is played as a parody of the Bond girl. Absolutely hilariously ineffectual. Eddie is an excellent thief, but he's still human. He gets frustrated with everything that's going on. He fumbles Bond one-liners that sounded better in his head, and while he wants a quieter law-abiding life, he doesn't deny for a single second that he's damn good. There are even hidden points to analyze, like the contrast between the simplicity of Eddie's gear made of mundane stuff like softballs and fishing poles, and the hypertech of the villains, like the sticky bomb launcher. I loved that thing when I was a kid. Or the Simon-esque handcuffs. But when the tone doesn't stabilize, things get downright nonsensical and not in a good way, such as Eddie escaping a truck only to land exactly where the bad guys who just seemingly planned to be at the perfect stop for the sake of plot contrivance. Sudden cuts, jokes that go either too long or too short, tonal swerves that needed at least some moments of preparation, and it abandons the main tone it spent 1 hour building, like for example the final showdown that turns into a straightforward storm the castle moment, instead of a heist. Because our protagonists are thieves, Everything just fizzles, dumbed down, action scenes get chopped up and everyone is in a hurry to end this already. In the end, did Hudson Hawk deserve the razzies it got? I don't think so. That year had way worse movies. For example, Drop Dead Fred. Yes, most of Hudson Hawk is genuinely fun and quirky without being over the top, and it's the closest thing we had to a Western live-action movie of Lupin III. Is it a hidden gem that was unfairly maligned? No, absolutely not. It's not surprising to see why this movie failed. In the end, it could have been a great start for a great series, but it ended just as a popcorn movie to enjoy whenever you have nothing better to do. Like I mentioned before, this movie uses its soundtrack really well. since both protagonists use songs to synchronize in their heists, such as Bing Crosby's Swinging on a Star and Paul Anka's Side by Side. Minerva Mayflower sings an obnoxious version of The Power by Snap, and overall, it's good. Would I recommend this movie? Maybe, perhaps as a popcorn flick of the 90s. I enjoyed it, but I understand why a lot of people don't. Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for coming here, and see you next week. And for spoilers, I think that Tommy surviving due to a contrived reason was absolutely bullshit, but it fits so well the absurdity of this movie that I didn't mind it for a moment.